Plan. Jessica, are you ready?
I am ready, but I, for some reason, thought it was in Revit 2018, so that's what I have open. So just a second, let me get Revit 2019 open.
All right.
Well, or we could just do 2018 because for this lesson, it doesn't really make that big of a difference.
Yeah, I mean, if you have it 18 open, it's fine. Everybody else, we had IT installed, Revit 2019 if you didn't have Revit installed. So.
Yeah, I think I just goofed because I clarified with that and I don't know, remembered incorrectly.
All right, I'll start share.
Yeah, I'll start sharing. Oops. Okay, so for everybody watching, actually on the training page under engineering, I added this PDF Zoomsite elevation drafting steps, and that is just detailing out the steps. So you can open it to follow along, or you can use that for reference tomorrow. And then I'm just gonna walk you guys through the steps to make one elevation. So I have this I copied over just a little bit from an architect's model right here. And so we're gonna make this elevation right up here. So when you are starting a project in Revit, if you're starting from scratch, if no one's done model setup for you, you're gonna go File, New, Project, then hit Browse, and you're gonna go to we'll go to ACAD. I think I'm having some. I'm having some, it's for some reason it's not browsing correctly, but basically you would go to ACAD, Revit, WW standard template, and then you would click the WW standard project template, and that's what you would start your project with. And then there's a bunch of steps to set up a model, which Gabe went over in a class maybe a month or two ago, and so I've just linked that here. So we'll just skip those steps and get into the actual modeling. So the first thing you need to do is load your mullions into the project. And so the mullions that you're going to use are all written out in the Revit families profile set that Esley's team puts together. And so there's a really cool tool called Load Mullions DB that you can select. Just a second, I'm going to close my door because I can hear my husband really loudly. Sorry. So basically you would use that Load Mullions DB tool, and then you would navigate to your job drafting profiles folder, and there's going to be a general notes access file in there. So you select that and click open, and then that's going to be reading all the mullion profiles that are in that Revit families document. And sometimes you'll get a message like this. So that means either like, sometimes it just means there was a typo. So it's looking like there's a typo in the name, or sometimes it means like there's just some mistake with the family. So if you get a message like this, basically what you're going to want to do is write down these families, figure out what detail they're coming from in your Revit families PDF set, and then use the family request to get those profiles. I don't really know why for this job. We don't need to get into it. So then you're going to get this dialog box. Can everyone see it? Yes? Okay. Yeah. And so here it's listing out all the profiles that were in that document. And what the drafter has to do now is set the offset and the angle. So this can sometimes be a little bit confusing. typically the offset is from face of system to back of glazing pocket, but if you're for almost all of our systems, it's 2 1/4. But there's some exceptions. If you don't really know what to do for your project, my advice would be just to load one in at 2 1/4, model it, use a live cut to check it, and then load in the rest. And then we also have to set angle. So for most of the profiles, there is no angle that needs to be set. It would just be 0. But for the corners, or for sometimes, depending on the way it's modeled, not all the time, but sometimes for segmented mullions, there needs to be an angle, and there's a formula for that that I put in the document. So for what we're modeling today, we don't have any corners or anything funky going on, so it would just all be good to go like this. I'm not going to actually load it because I've been having some connection issues and it takes a while, but you would hit load and it would only take a few minutes and they'd load in. But I've preloaded them into my project.
So for people working at like doing this themselves, do you do that check all, uncheck all button and then hit load, or what do you?
Yeah, sorry, let me open this up again.
Because people are trying to follow along and do this, right?
On the template, we don't have anything like, so I don't know how can we follow along.
Yeah, I didn't realize people are gonna be following along. I thought everyone was just gonna watch and then do it tomorrow.
What was the plan for the class? Is it to do it while she's doing it, or just to watch today?
It was going to be like kind of an overview like she's doing, plus if they wanted to get into Revit and follow along, they could be doing that. I think I just did clarify that with Jessica.
But we don't have this architectural little model to follow.
Yeah. What folder is everyone pulling from?
I just did the template.
Oh.
I just got Revit open with the template. That's as far as I got.
Yeah, me too.
Because I can put this file somewhere on the server for everyone to get to it.
Yeah.
How about this, Jessica? Is it could we do like a brand new project and then just like load in some of the mullions?
But it won't be true to what we're doing here in routing.
I'm just going to move this file to ACAD, or no, operations, drafting. We have a training. Make it a folder. Okay, if you guys want to follow along, you can open this file or copy, paste it to your desktop, and then open this file. And so it's already got the mullions loaded in for you.
Hey, Jessica, just to, on the training page, the Zoomsite elevation drafting steps, when I click into it, it links to a PDF about communications. Just a heads up.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there, but.
Sorry guys.
But it sounds like a pretty good PDF though.
I will just put it in the same folder and fix everything later.
Okay.
Jessica, is it okay to upgrade because I had the Revit 19?
Yeah, it's okay to upgrade it. I mean, it's just your copy. It doesn't affect anyone, so it's.
Yeah, make sure you copy it to your computer somewhere and then open it with your computer. Don't open it directly over.
Copy it where, Zach?
Just copy it onto your hard drive somewhere, your desktop,
okay.
If you want.
Barely hear you. Okay, so to the desktop.
Sorry for the hiccups, guys. Here's the file.
No problem.
Here's the PDF. It's under Operations, Drafting, Zoomsite. I'll just wait like 5 minutes for everyone to get sorted.
Tomorrow, when we're doing the flip-flop rolls activity, we have a file that you guys are going to start with, just like this.
Yeah, so for this file, there's a couple steps in the PDF that we're skipping because I've already set it up in the file, but they're all basically outlined in that setup video that Gabe made.
Just could we like talk about like the kind of process you would do to start the model, right? So like if you go back to your architectural or your little elevation there. So you're saying this is like a clip of architectural model, right?
Yes.
So when you start the process, everyone would kind of figure out the Revit version, right? So in our case, it'll be Revit 2019, which is kind of what everybody's opening. And like you mentioned, they have the template. So when you open the template, you'll see that upgrade. So a lot of you guys are probably doing that now if you haven't done it already, where you click the template and it'll update. It might take a little while because it's upgrading from like 2017 to 2019, and that'll open up.
Yeah, I also, it's just a second, realized that I skipped a step in copying stuff over, which we will all learn about soon.
Yeah, I think we don't have this architectural cutout. Right?
Yeah, so
We only have the little one.
but I can walk everybody through that, which is kind of probably a good thing to do. Sorry, Gabe, you can keep going.
So we need one more file, right?
Yeah, sorry, Gabriel, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say like now that you kind of have the elevation and you've had the idea, okay, you're gonna model this elevation, what would you kind of do as, you know, drafting to kind of begin modeling? Like what would be like kind of the first couple steps?
Well, that's what I'm gonna, that's the whole thing. That's the class. What do you mean?
I mean, like, or you would kind of identify, like you're mentioning the mullions you would need, right?
Well, so at the beginning, with load mullions DB, you're just loading in all the project's mullions.
Yes. And
So
that's great.
Then once you start modeling, then you know you'll find out if you had issues, if you're missing any mullions or not.
And then while we're waiting, could you also show like the regular load mullions?
So this is the load mullions tool to just load one mullion at a time, or you can load multiple if you hit control. So with this, you're just kind of searching through all the profiles that we have for your mullion, or if you want, you can type it in if you know what it is as a shortcut.
Yeah, just in case we don't have that database, right?
Yeah.
You just want to load one or two or a couple of mullions, and you can just use that regular load mullions.
Yeah, but for starting any new project, you should have the database. this would be if you have like family requests or some other reason why you're not getting your mullions with the profile set.
Yeah, exactly.
So is it okay that I open this model without architectural?
Yeah. So so does everyone who wants to follow along, do you guys all have the example files Revit model open?
I have example files, but it doesn't have the.
Yeah, I'm gonna walk you guys through that step. Okay, since no one's saying anything, I'm gonna assume everyone's ready.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. So, James, close the architect file. Anyone who opened the arc template, you don't want this open on its own.
Mhm.
Sorry. And then, so what we're gonna do is, so for you guys, your link got broken because I had my stuff saved locally, and now you're trying to open from the server. So to get that link fixed again, you would go to manage links. And then the first option is Revit. You see where it says arc template. You're gonna click reload from, and then navigate to that folder, drafting, Zoomsite, and then you will click the arc template and click open. And so now that's just going to load it in from that path that you can access.
Oh, yeah.
And if you were adding in the arc template, like just, you know, you didn't have it at all, you would do the same process, but click add. And then this is also, if you ever get like a revised architectural set, the best process to load that into your project, instead of clicking add and having like two architectural, the old and the new on top of each other, the best process is to select the old one and click reload from, because that will load it into the same coordinates, the same settings as you previously had it.
Do you preset all these coordinates kind of originally?
Sorry?
How do you set this up, the coordinates? Because
I'm not going to go through that because, I mean, Gabe had a whole like 1 hour class on all that stuff, but there's a YouTube video walking through project setup. Okay, I think we are all caught up. Sorry, guys. So now we are at, basically we are at the stage where we've got our mullions in the project. And now we need to create our wireframe model. And so we're gonna work on this curtain wall, as I said before. So this is on the second level. So we can go to our level 2 floor plan and project browser. And right now I've got it set where the architect's model is shown in gray. So we can use that as a reference. So what our step is now is to create a basic wireframe wall. So we're gonna go to architecture, wall, and then under this properties, you need to scroll through, or you can search for WW wireframe. And then once you select that, technically Quasar can fix your stuff if you don't model this way, but the easiest thing to do is to model clockwise. So that basically means we're gonna just make our wall going this direction. So you can see it's like a little bit off from the rough opening. So once you have it in, you can adjust it to match the architect's model. I'm going to use the move tool to align it with their face of system. Sometimes if you're having a hard time like snapping to an edge, like by dragging it, you can use the align tool, which is the shortcut is AL, which will activate this tool where you can click align and then click the shape handle of your curtain wall to get it into place. And then that kind of caused a problem because it looks like the architect's model is a little bit crooked. So that's not really something we want. So a kind of hack around that I use is to draw a detail line. The shortcut for that is DL, or you can go to annotate detail line. And then just from the edge, I'll draw my own line that I know is orthogonal and then use that to snap to.
Just, I think we got a question. Z had a question.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. You're going way too fast. I got click wall, create frame. I didn't even know where to click and what to do, and mine's all back. I have no idea. You're going way too fast. I'm sorry. I can't follow. Like, I'm sorry. So I got wireframe, and where am I supposed to click?
So you're gonna click right here, and then you're gonna click over here.
Just in space.
Just in space, yeah. But you're trying to line it up with the architects, but then it doesn't have to be perfect your first clicks. You can go and refine it after you've got it set. Okay. So once we've got this wall in here, if you click your wall, you can see what the length of it is. And right now, our wall is some really crazy size, which we don't want to model things to the 256. And that just happens because the architects don't really care, and that's what they modeled it to. So really what we want to do if we're in that situation, what I would do is you go to annotate, click your linear dimension, or you can use the shortcut DI, and then you can snap to the extent of your curtain wall. I'm getting some, sorry guys. I think my oh, sorry. Go to annotate aligned dimension, and then so when you're trying to snap to something, it's going to pop up in blue, and if you kind of hover and wait a second, a little text box will come up saying what it is that you're snapping to. So when we're snapping to the outside of an elevation, we want to be snapping to the shape handle. So here I can see I'm snapping to a wall, and it's a WW wireframe shape handle. So that's the right thing. So then I just click, go over to the right end, click, and then click the grid line. So here here is the point where I would kind of check the contract documents to figure out what is our offset really. The architect probably doesn't want a 13/30 seconds offset. So then what you want to do is just manually adjust this curtain wall to be the actual correct DP to DP size. So if you click on an element in Revit that has these dimensions, then you can click into the dimensions to edit them. So I'm going to click into this dimension right here and override it as 13/16. And so that actually just moved the whole curtain wall. And so, but I want to just shorten the curtain wall, so I'm going to lock this end dimension select my curtain wall again, and then come over to the other end and type in 13/16. So now I've got my curtain wall to the actually correct DP to DP, not a crazy dimension. And so I'm going to reveal the architect's model again. And then now we're going to add the grid lines. And so I'm going to answer the questions. Where would you check the architect offset? That's in your contract document, so your architecturals, like your PDF documents, are always going to rule over the model. So you can't just copy straight from their model. You need to be looking in the PDF documents to verify the intent. And then to Esley, we don't need caulk joints at all at this stage. That's going to come later. Oh, and does the DP to DP include caulk joints? Yes, DP to DP is with the caulk joints. I think that's what the question really was. Yeah, so right now we're just modeling the DP to DP. And usually, yeah, you can see that the architect doesn't even have a caulk joint. They don't usually include them, but we'll have to look at the contract documents to figure out, you know, where our wall needs to start and end. James is unable to change both jam dims. Well, James, are you snapped to the shape handles? Yes. Oh yeah, you have to click the curtain wall, and then you can adjust the dimensions.
Yeah, I did that. So when I click the curtain wall, like all 3 dimensions are blue, and then I click the left dimension, type 2, 2, and 13/16. That's great. And then I click the right dimension.
Oh, so you have to lock the left one before you can change the right one.
Gotcha.
Otherwise, it's just going to be moving the curtain wall back and forth.
Right. I remember. Yeah. I don't do this every day, so.
No, that's okay.
Just don't yell at me.
And yeah, to Sahar, I know that they're precise because I typed them in and I overwrote what I traced out of the architect's model was incorrect. For the DP to DP, it was like, I don't remember exactly, like something to the 256, which is not really the architect's intent at all. They just kind of don't really care about modeling to exact numbers. So that's why we went through the step of typing it in, which...
So Revit, how it works, you can't fake dimension, right? It will always translate it that you won't actually stretch it to that number, right?
Sorry, you can't do what to the dimensions?
You can't fake them.
Yeah, I mean, if I dimensioned when it was to the 256, if I made a dimension string, it would tell me it was 23 and 6/3/8, but it wouldn't actually be that. So if we don't actually adjust our model element to be what it is supposed to be, that's when we end up with problems down the road where we think we have, you know, all these units that are the same exact size, and it turns out some of them are slightly off. So that's why we overrode the ends, went through this process, is just to get our exact dimension. Just because this is a good time to do it when you're first starting out with the wireframe.
Can we walk through that real quick again, just to make sure everybody's caught up? Like,
yeah. So you're gonna activate your align dimension tool. So that's annotate. Let me walk you through it again. So like if I'm on something else, you go to annotate up at the top, aligned, or you can use the shortcut DI. Then you're going to select your left grid and then hover over the end of your curtain wall, and you can read that text box to make sure you're snapping to your curtain wall handle. Snap, hover over the right end, snap, and then snap to the grid line. Pull your dimension string up. So now I've got this dimension. So now if I select the curtain wall, those dimensions that I'm able to edit are going to turn blue. So right now you can see this left dimension is black because I've got it locked, which is part of the process. So I'm going to unlock it to walk you through again. So I would grab my curtain wall, then come over to my left dimension and write in the number that's actually supposed to be. So in this case, it's correct. Let me just modify it so I can show you guys again. So but now I just changed it. So it's 2'2" and 209, 256, which is not correct. So I would select it and type in 2'2" and 13/16, which is the correct dimension that I want. Then once I do that, I click out of my curtain wall, click my dimension string again, lock this left dimension that I just changed, then select my curtain wall again, and then I'm going to come to the right end and make sure that this says 13/16. Press enter. And then now if I want to double check that everything's good, if I select my curtain wall, I can see under the properties to the left, the length, which is a real number, 23 feet and 6 3/8.
Perfect. Everyone good? And show of hands on participants if you're this far. If not, we can kind of make sure that you guys are following along. If there's something you're stuck on.
So it doesn't matter where it is positioned on the back and forward, right? Right now.
Well, so that's why we're locking the end dimension after we change it, is to keep it from just moving it back and forward, right? So I know, presumably, I would have, my architectural set open, and I would know that I'm supposed to have this distance to the DP from the grid line. Or if that dimension was missing in the architectural set, make my best guess and document it somewhere to send an RFI to the architect. So you set this, lock it, then you set the other end, and now you've got your curtain wall, the correct DP to DP. So you're not carrying some error through all the way to the end where you've got some crazy dimension.
So when you add all these 3 dimensions, this should equal your column to column dimension then?
Yep. So
guys, also
it will equal 28 feet.
Okay.
Also, guys, if you have questions, there's the chat in Zoom where you can ask them, and some of us are having some discussion and question and answer there. So if you prefer to interrupt Jessica, go to the chat, and me and whoever other drafters want to can try and answer your question there. Just FYI.
Okay.
Good.
So now we're going to place our curtain grids. So you're going to go to architecture and then select curtain grid. And so because we're going to do Quasar, if anyone's learned how to model before with our old process, we had some really strict rules for how to do this. But with Quasar, we don't really care about anything but slapping our curtain grids down where our mullions are, and then Quasar is going to fix everything else. So basically you have curtain grid selected. You're going to hover over your curtain wall. You can do this in floor plan or elevation view, whatever floats your boat. Sometimes, it doesn't want to snap to where the architect, actually has the mullion for whatever reason. That's okay. You can just put it in for now, and then we're going to go back once we have all the curtain grids in and adjust the spacing. So. Okay, so now everyone should have placed curtain grids at each mullion in the architect's model. So it is under architecture, curtain grid to get the curtain grid option, and then you'll just hover over your curtain wall in the plan view. And then click when you're ready to place a curtain grid. So once you have them all placed, you have a couple of options. One, you can use the align command, which you can get to by going to modify and, well, I actually always use the shortcut. So can someone remind me where you can navigate to get to the align command?
Yeah, I always use the AL, or the whatever
Oh,
command,
thank
or
you.
write myself commands.
So you go to modify and you click this little symbol, and then you can like hover over the mullion and the architect's model, which will know that you're hovering over the correct line. When it shows up blue, and then you see in that little text box that says RVT links, and it's kind of like describing what it is that you're hovering over. So you would hover over this, click, and then you would hover over your curtain wall grid, which will show up blue, and it will say curtain wall grid in the text box. Click, and then that will align your curtain grid to where the architect was showing their mullion. That's one way to do it. The other way to do it is to activate the dimension tool again, either with the shortcut DI or annotate aligned, and then snap to the outside of the grid like we did before, and then you would go through and snap to each of these curtain grids that you modeled, and drag it. And so another option besides just straight up aligning to the architect's model is if you have a good architectural set that's clear on what the spacing is, then you can select a curtain grid, and just like we did before with adjusting the curtain wall extents, you can write in what the true dimension is supposed to be. So I'm going to say actually for this project that the spacing is supposed to be 3'8" everywhere, and the architect was just maybe they just made a mistake, they had a rounding error. So select your curtain grids and type in 3'8" for these middle curtain grids, and then if you wanted to set like this end unit to be matching this end unit, like if I just grabbed this curtain grid and typed in 3/8, it's going to shrink the adjacent one. But I can also just select one curtain grid, then click Control and select another one, Control and select another one, Control, Control, and then use the Move command, which is this symbol, or type in MV, and then draw just like in Autodesk, like a move. I'll move 3/16 of an inch. Oh, and I forgot to grab one at the end, so I can just override it. So now I've got equal spacing. So
just 1 second before you do that, can you show the dimensions again, like how you put the dimensions on there?
Yeah, so you're gonna go to annotate aligned or use DI, and then hover over your curtain wall shape handle like we did before, select it, and then hover over each curtain grid, and then they'll show up blue, and you'll see in the text box that it's your curtain wall grid, and then click it, click, 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 and then you would just drag your dimension up and click to place it somewhere. So now we have our vertical grids placed, but we need to place our horizontal grids. And so I already here, we've got a, and we've got our overall elevations. I mean, this is a tiny little snip of a project. In a real project, they'd be a lot bigger, but so we can click, if you see this elevation bubble in front of the elevation, if we double click into that arrow, it's going to open up a view of the elevation. So I've got this curtain wall down below that I already modeled, which we're going to ignore because now we want to add in our horizontal grid. So right now the architect's model is turned off, and so we've actually got a tool to turn it back on. Under WW modeling, there's a button that says linked on off. So go to WW modeling, click that, and then it's going to turn the architect's model back on. So now let's select our curtain wall. So we can adjust, so we want to now adjust the height of our curtain wall to match our DP to DP. So one way we can do it is by just, visually finding, the bottom of the curtain wall in the architect's model, and then trying to drag and snap to that. And if you do it that way, you're really relying on the architect having their model in the right spot. The other option is to, look into your details, do some investigative work, and figure out really where your DP is supposed to start relative to a floor line. So we're just going to trust the architect's model, but if you come over to, if you select your curtain wall and then come over to your properties panel, you can see this is the base constraints is set to level 2, which is correct. So that basically means the bottom of our curtain wall is going to be determined by some distance from level 2, and then the base offset is -2 foot 4 inches, which is just a good way to kind of check that you're in the right spot with your architectural documents or your Jumpstart package or whatever, with your relationship to the grid line. Because that is the dimension that's gonna kind of determine everything. And it's important, really, if you have to spend extra care for anything, spend extra care to get your base offset correct from the very beginning, because adjusting this later in the process is going to cause all your mullions to move. And then you'd have to fix them and move them back down to where they go. So just try and get this correct. So then if we look at this curtain wall we're modeling, it's kind of a weird T shape. So let's hover. You guys don't have to do this, but I'm going to hover over the architect's curtain wall and select it just to show you the way the architect modeled it, is that they actually made a curtain wall that's shaped like a T, which is a way we can do it too, but that requires quite a bit of extra work, and it pretty much bugs out if we try and import a curtain wall that's shaped like a T into Quasar. So what we're going to do instead is actually model this curtain wall as 2 different curtain walls. So this bottom curtain wall is going to be from the head of the stack joint at this level down. So right now I'm just going to drag it for this lesson just to the bottom of the mullion. Really, if you're working on this, you're gonna want to use your dimensions to set this accurately per like your drawings, your profile drawings, but just for now, I'm just gonna drag it down here. And then we want another curtain wall on top that's gonna be this top of the T shape. And so we could go through the whole process. We could go to level 3 and model it all over again, but we're going to take a shortcut, which is we're going to select our bottom curtain wall, click Control-C, and then click out, go to Modify, drop down, paste, select Align to Selected Levels, and then we're going to click Align to Level 3, and it's way too big right now. It's overlapping. Revit's going to give you a warning because they don't like that, but that's fine. Once we have it pasted, now we can just select it, drag this bottom toggle up, drag the top toggle down, and get it to the right height. And then we can grab these toggles on the side to bring it out to the full extent. And then at this point, we kind of want to repeat our process from earlier of dimensioning everything to make sure we've got, you know, our true dimensions. And it looks like for this top curtain wall, the architect actually modeled it correctly, so we don't need to overwrite anything. So I'm going to walk through that process one more time. Delete this guy. So I'm going to select the bottom curtain wall. I'm going to use the shortcut Control-C, click into white space, go to Modify, drop down this arrow under Paste, click Align to Selected Levels, click Level 3, click OK. Then once that's pasted, I'll grab these arrow toggles to shorten my curtain wall, adjust its height, adjust its width. So in Revit, it's going to want to snap to things that it finds. And so I'm seeing that it's snapping to this dashed line, which indicates it's snapping to the outside of the curtain wall in the architect's model. So that's how I know it's the right place to snap. So now we have got 2 curtain walls in, and so for the quasar step, I'm just going to walk you guys through this bottom curtain wall, and I think we're probably going to run out of time before we get even to the top part of the curtain wall. So now we've got this.
Are we going to add the horizontals first, or?
Yeah. That's what I mean. I'm just going to add them to this bottom, and we're going to ignore this top one for now.
Okay.
So we've got this bottom curtain wall, and now we need to add our horizontals. So if anyone is familiar with our old process, you know, we would go through a lot of grief to add our horizontals in a certain way. With Quasar, again, it doesn't really matter how you add them. We just need to put curtain grids everywhere that there's a horizontal. So I'm going to go to Architecture, Curtain Grid, like we did earlier, then hover over the elevation. And so you can see this little line showing up. That's the curtain grid. So I'll just hover over the elevation and try and get it to snap to the right spot. If you can't quite get it to the right spot, that's okay. You can go back and adjust it later. So click to place my curtain grid, and then click to place my curtain grid. So you can see right now, I mean, it's not really putting in, it has this placeholder mullion, which isn't really in the correct spot. It doesn't matter at this point. The only thing that we're concerned about right now is the actual curtain grid being in the correct spot. So for our typical horizontals, the curtain grid is going to be at the top of horizontal. So that's the dimension you're looking to align. So it's kind of difficult to make sure you're aligning correctly in elevation view if you're trying to align with the architect's model. So what we're going to do now is create a temporary live cut. So if you go to view section, and we can go to properties, drop down where it says details, WW details full, and change it to WW section, and then click up at the top and click down at the bottom to draw a section, and then we can click into this section, and so here we can see the architect's model right here, and then our model right here. So right now it's kind of hard to tell the difference between those two models because I forgot to change this view template. So I'll just teach you guys how to do that right now. So if you have an architect's model on and it's difficult to distinguish between that model and your model, you can go over to your view template under properties. So here's properties, here's a view template, click your view template, then go to this option, VG overrides RVT links, click edit, and then just select halftone for your architect template, and then click OK, and then click OK. And now that makes it a little easier to see what is our model and what is the architect's. So again, this temporary mullion is not accurately reflecting where we want our horizontal to be. We don't even care about it. It's just a placeholder. What we need to make sure is in the right spot is this current grid. So I'm going to use the align command again, which is under modify, and it's this weird little symbol, or it's just the shortcut AL. And then I'm going to hit the tab button, and that basically cycles through your selections. So I'm hitting tab to cycle through until I have the top of the horizontal in the architect's model blue. So click that, and then I will hover over my current grid, which becomes blue, and click that, and now I've aligned my current grid with the top of the horizontal. So and once I've got that alignment, I'll just click escape to cancel the command, and then I will pan up to this other horizontal and repeat that same process to make sure that's in the right spot. So now we've got our wireframe with all our horizontals, and now we're going to actually get into Quasar. So does anybody have a question right now? Yeah. Yeah, nothing matters right now except for that your current grids are in the right spot. Okay, so we'll move on. So now we're going to go to WW modeling elevation generator. So start the elevation generator, and mine popped up on the wrong window. This little this dialog box, oops, is going to pop up. If you guys have never had it open before, it might be popping up pinned to somewhere on your screen. So you can drag it out to and expand it to whatever you need to do to be able to see what's going on well. So once we got that open, we need to do two things. First, we need to import our mullions into the elevation generator, and then second, we're going to import our curtain wall into the elevation generator. So go to import mullions and systems, and now it's just loading in all the mullions that are in your project. So now that's done. It's really easy. And then once that's done loading, we're going to go to import element. So because we're doing this with a wireframe model, it's import element. If you are trying to pull from the architect's model directly or from the sales model, and those were linked in, it would be import linked element. But for us, it's just import element. So once we do that, now we need to activate the window with the elevation in it. And I mean, you can do that by just clicking into white space, but in Revit, they always want to click onto something. So it's really easy to accidentally select something, which kind of breaks this tool. So the trick is to hover over your elevation and then press down the middle wheel on your mouse to pan. And that has now selected the elevation view without accidentally clicking something we don't want to click. So once I've done that, I'm going to now hover over my curtain wall, and you can see the blue line has shown up that shows I'm hovering over it, and I'm going to click to select it, and now it just loaded that curtain wall into the elevation generator. So there's a lot going on right now with you guys. Okay, Daniel's asking me to repeat. Okay, I'm gonna do that again. So first let me, oh, you actually fixed it, Zach, so it is not doing the, you don't have to pan anymore?
I think you still do.
Oh, it was, okay. So here, let's do it again. I'm gonna bring in the top one so you guys can see the change to just walk you through it again. So we start elevation generator. First step, import mullions of systems. It loads, you don't have to do anything. Second step, import element. Here, you're gonna hover over your elevation view, pan with the middle wheel to make that view active, hover over your curtain wall that you wanna select, so the outline of it is blue, click, and that's gonna load your curtain wall into the elevation generator. And I'm gonna do it one more time. So import element, pan, hover, click. Okay, so now we've got our part of our elevation into Quasar. So now we're going to set our mullion types, and we're going to tell Revit where our unit breaks are. So to figure this out, we're going to want to open up our profile set. So here is my elevation that I'm trying to work on right now. So I can see, let's see, 1 on 503 is a horizontal. So actually I've got a kind of a complicated situation going on. So where is my stack joint? Oops. See, 2 on 505. Oh, there's my stack joint. So this is a little bit more complicated than it would appear at first if the stack joint is not at this line. That means we've got a crazy flag unit situation going on. So we will just pretend for the sake of this lesson. Oh, this does not want to move. For the sake of this lesson, we're going to pretend actually like we have a giant tall unit and the stack joint is right here. So let's go to 2 on 505 and to look at what our profiles are for the stack joint. So the cell profile for the stack joint is going to be this UW75 1106 002, either wind load or dead load. And actually, because we broke up our elevation, we're not going to even be modeling the sill of the stack joint right now. What we're going to be modeling in is the head of the stack joint, which is this little piece down here with the chicken head. And so that profile is UW75 3119009. So I'm going to move my PDF off to the side so I can reference it. So now back to Quasar. I'm just going to click off in space above my elevation and drag the selection box. Oops, I think it wasn't selected. Sorry, I don't know why this is not working.
I rotated it around to the back side and it worked for me.
Oh, weird. I think there's just a little bug. So it looks like if you just hold down Shift in the middle button just to pan your elevation a tiny bit, and that will allow you to drag and select. Did you see that, Zach?
I saw it, and I've never seen that before.
Yeah, I got a little bug. So, so does everyone see how to drag and select? The session, Yuriko, is for 1180 main. Could maybe someone else put that in chat for anyone who actually wants to open the profile set?
We'll just type in the names of the mullions that you're using.
Yeah, okay, cool, thank you. So once I've selected the top, then there's these filters built in to narrow down your selection. So I'm gonna click, first I'm looking for a mullion segment. I'm trying to select my head. Then I'm looking for a head. So now if I zoom in with the scroll wheel, everything that is purple is what I've got selected. If you have any sort of red, blue color blindness, sorry. So we got all of my head members selected, and so now I can set this profile. So I've got selected, and then I don't need to worry about any of this stuff right now. I'm just going to go down to resources, only top left mullion, and then I'm going to drop down this menu of options, and this is all the mullions that I've loaded into the project. And so I'm going to scroll through until I find my head mullion, which I got from the profile set. And so it's supposed to be UW75 3119-009P, which is actually...
It is there. You just got to go up.
You had it there.
It was higher up.
Oh, there it is. Oh, it's okay. I got it. So I select this, and then so then the next step, a normal head condition would be to add the cop joint, but this is not like a normal head condition because this is the bottom. Like this is like we're modeling as one curtain wall, what's actually just like one really tall unit. So there is no cop joint at the top of a unit. So that's going to stay blank. And then here's a cool feature that Zach just added. Once I've set this stack head, I can come up to, oh, looks like it's not letting me do it unless I have a caulk joint. Zach.
Interesting.
So, well,
Don't worry about it. We'll cover it.
don't worry about it.
tomorrow.
Well, I'll show you guys at jams. So, okay, I've got my head in. Now I'm going to load in my jams. So I'm going to select from the bottom and drag up to choose my left jam. Then again, use my filters, mullion segment, left jam. And come back to my profile drawings. Let's see what my left jam is. 1 on 552A. So I will go there and see, now I can see the profile I want to use and the caulk joint that I want to use. So got it selected. I'm going to drop this down again, same process, and navigate to W75413-005-PL. Select it, and then now I need to place my caulk joint. So down here under caulking track, I'm going to drop down, and it's a WW caulk joint 1 1/4. So select that, and then here we can use the cool new feature. Now we can come up to where it says mullion preset and click this add button, and I can type in whatever nickname I want. I'm going to do left jam 1 on 5.52A. So in the future, if I see that same detail, I don't have to dig through it again. I can just drop down this preset and it will put those families in. So I'm going to click OK. And now I will do my right jam. So drag a box, select over the right jam, then click mullion segment, right jam. I'm looking at my profile drawings again to see the detail that I want for that. So I'm just going to tell you guys the parts. It's going to be the same as the other side except for part right. So UW754113-005-PR, and then 1 1/4 inch caulk joint. And then again, I can set a preset, and this is going to be jam right. Oh, and I already had one and I forgot to use it. So I can overwrite that. So now I've got my jam set, my head set. I'm going to set my sill. So drag a box, mullion segment, sill. Back to my profile drawings. 1A on 505. So it's going to be let's see, UW75 1106X.
Why wouldn't
And
that
then
be bottom instead of the top? It says resources, it says top or left or bottom or right, and you pick top.
Only. It's only. Sorry. This is for when we're splitting.
Understood.
So you go first. It's only. Then, if you have a choice, it's top.
Understood. Thank you.
Or left.
Got it.
Yeah. So this is your first only. So we're going to go to UW75 1106 -006 wind load. I mean, here you gotta when you're modeling, just be aware if you're choosing you know, if you're choosing one load, that's supposed to be one load, or if you're choosing dead load, that's supposed to be dead load. For some reason, we don't have them both loaded in, but you should have basically two options. So you want to make sure that you're choosing the correct profile. And so it is one load. So it's UW75-1106X-006WLP. So select that. And then we're going to come down to caulking track. And here we're going to select the sill track, which has a part name 2, and that's SW75-1101-001-P075. And then I can, again, make a preset. So I will do sill, but this is a different detail of 1A505. Okay. So now we've gotten all of our borders set, and now we're going to create our units and set the mullions and for our intermediates. So I'm going to drag a box and select everything, filter mullion segment, and then here I'm going to go to vertical. And now this is where we're going to tell the program to split our curtain wall into the correct units. So once everything's selected, before you put in your resources, you're going to go to layout is between units and check this box. And so now you can see that this bottom/right mullion box, which previously was grayed out, is now an option. So here, basically what this is reading now is left mullion, right mullion. So I'll go to my profile drawings again to find my detail. So I'll just read you guys the mullions you need to put in. So for the left mullion, that's going to be UW75-5262-003P. Select it. And for the right mullion, UW75-5263-018P. And so now I've got that set, and now I can give this a name like a typical intermediate and put my detail in. Okay, so now the only step that's left is to set my horizontals, which are both just intermediate horizontals. They're not splitting units. So again, draw the square, this time mullion segment horizontal. And then if I go to my details again to find that family name, well, oh, there it is. Okay, so it's going to be UW75-2102-033P. So select that, and here I can make a preset. So I'll do tip horizontal 1 on 5.03. Okay, so now I've got my model completed, and Chris has an issue where those buttons are not showing up on my window when I select the wall. What buttons, Chris?
The filter buttons.
So if you drag, oh, I think that was the bug we were experiencing earlier.
Oh, okay.
So when you first import, you just have to hold down your middle button and shift, and just a tiny little tiny movement just to slightly adjust the view, and then they work. It's just a bug. Are they working for you now?
Shift.
If you're, I mean, we have to move on. If you're not able to catch up, you can just use the curtain wall I already modeled down on the bottom level to do the next couple steps.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah. Okay, so once you have everything set, now we need to export. So if we were just to hit export right now, it's gonna put this model into our project, but there's a little bit of a problem, which is that we've got this wireframe model like already there. And so we don't want to have two curtain walls sitting on top of each other. So the thing I do before I export is I always will select the wireframe model I just worked from and delete it. And then I export, so I don't have to worry about having two curtain walls sitting on top of each other. So this is doing its thing. It normally doesn't take this long. Oh, there it goes. So now we've got our curtain wall exported with all the right mullions. So now is the time to use live cuts to double check everything. So I'm going to close the elevation generator. For now, we don't really need it anymore. And then I will zoom in to my curtain wall to make sure everything looks good. So you can see here is my curtain wall, and like magically now my horizontals are lining up, the face of system is lining up, everything looks beautiful. But we got, you know, this weird bit because we haven't done this top part of the wall yet. So after you export, you just want to use live cuts. It'll make a live cut through the plan view. So you can't actually use the, so okay, let me show you how to do a plan view live cut. So you go to view, section, then you can't use WW section like we did for the section because it won't work. You have to drop that down and then select one of the detail view options, or you can make your own, which is a whole another thing which we won't go into right now. So I'm gonna drop this down and just select WW detail 6" under properties, and then I can cut a live cut to get a plan view, and then I'm gonna do what I did earlier, which is to go to my view template, WW details 6", click that, go to VG overrides RVT links, click that, and set this art template to halftone and set it to underlay, and then click OK. Okay, it's going to make it easier to compare. So then I can now zoom into my my exported curtain wall and make sure that everything looks good. So if I'd made a mistake in, like, let's say I had flipped these around somehow, you know, this would be the point where it would be really obvious that something is off. So yeah, basically, you know, when you're working on this, you want to be cutting live cuts to review everything you've done and make sure it looks good.
So Quasar did the glass?
This is just our glass. It hasn't like set the see, you can kind of see in the architectural model someone had put in ArcCAD. It doesn't set the bytes. It's just that our typical glass family is set to like kind of look right. So we still have to do the glass.
Yeah, it puts the glass in there, but it doesn't have the right byte, doesn't have the right gaskets, doesn't have the right setting blocks, but it does have the right glass type if you had it in the original model, which we didn't. So.
Okay.
Okay. Hey, Gabe and Zach, I know I'm like really behind on time.
Yeah, we got about 20 minutes maybe.
Okay.
Just to go over the Allen tools and stuff.
Yeah. So what we're gonna do is just go over yeah, some basic tools. So we've got our mullions. So if you guys are following along with the PDF, now we are at step 17. So what we want to do now is generate our glass. And so I don't know if anyone who watched the video last week or watched the lesson last week, there is a new glass generating tool, GG 3.0, but it's not launched quite yet. So I'm just going to show everyone how to use GG 2.0 for now, which is really simple. So you're going to go to WW Modeling and then select GG 2.0, and it's going to pop up this dialog box, which lets you select the elevations that you want to generate the glass for, and these names that it's reading are the names that are assigned to the wall type of your curtain wall. And so for the one we just exported from Quasar, the wall type is WW Unitized RO, and you can double check that, because once you check this box, the curtain wall that's selected is gonna be blue. So it's just really easy to see if you have the right curtain wall selected. I mean, you could, with this, you could select both of the curtain walls that are options in your view and generate both their glass. It doesn't really matter. But the 01 elevation, it's already had its glass generated, so we don't need to bother. So I've selected WW Unitized RL, and then I'm going to click OK. And it'll take a few minutes. Okay, so then this dialog box is going to pop up, and so here we need to put in the thickness of both pieces of glass and the thickness of the airspace, and then the glass offset from, so the offset of the glass from the face of system, and then sealant interior width. So in terms of data, really, I mean, they're getting the makeup of the glass from the glass type, but putting in the correct values here just makes it so if you cut any live cuts that the glass looks correct. Getting the glass offset right is a little bit more important if you ever end up like hosting any elements to the glass. You want them to be in the right spot. So for this project, outboard thickness is 1/4 inch, then 1/2 inch airspace, then 5/16 inboard thickness, and a glass offset of 15/16. Typically it would be 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, an inch, but this is a special project. So you guys might already be having these values because you're using the template, and the program remembers your previous selections, and I've already inputted these values. So I'm going to click OK, and now it's going to generate the glass. So 21 lights successfully loaded, which is great. If we had made mistakes somewhere and not caught them, like if I'd accidentally put the right jam here and the left jam here, then it would have saw that there's no data set for glass to the, you know, to go into the right side of the left jam and vice versa, and it would have given me an error, but we have all the right families in, so we don't have a problem. So once you've got those loaded, again, it's a good idea to just use your live cuts, do a quick review, make sure everything looks good. So you can see like this glass is updated now where it's showing the sealant and the bites a little bit deeper than it was before. If we go to the section view, for the section view, what I'm doing is I'm going into my view template to change this detail level from coarse to fine so I can see my profiles in detail. So here you just want to check everything. So right here, if we look at the stack joint, we've got this little gap, which actually I think is correct because there's a caulk joint, but if you see something like that, you just want to go look at the detail and double check. And if something's not loading incorrect, that's when you submit a family request to get that data fixed.
Where are those AutoCAD looking lines coming from?
They're in the architect's model. I don't know if we sent them our stuff or what.
They put in the horizontal upside down.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that the architect had our CAD files probably from some old job and just overlaid them in their model. They're trying to help us. So just ignore those.
I do have a question though.
Yeah.
Is there a reason why the mullions or some of the mullions change color? Is it because I have the filter turn on? Because I have right now the sill to be like dark blue.
Yeah, so there's a filter. No, I
If
think
you go
it's
to filters, I think, yeah.
So if we go to the 3D view, I'm just going to isolate this current wall. WW3D, there's a filter that sets the mullions, the dead load mullions to be red and the wind load to be blue. So if you have that turned on in any of your views, see here, setting that, it's going to be blue.
Okay.
So if you don't want that in like your elevation view, for example, you would just delete that filter from the view template for your elevation view.
All right, thanks.
Okay. So now we've got the glass, and again, once you generate it, especially your first couple elevations, you're gonna be wanting to just do a bunch of live cuts, measure everything, make sure it's correct, because that's your chance to double check the data, but we're not going to go through that right now because we don't have time. So we're just going to assume it's all correct. So now we want to assign our glass types. So there's kind of a trick to this to do it quicker. What we're going to do is make global parameters for our glass types. So the way you do that is to go to manage global parameters. Actually, before I do this, I'm going to hit cancel just a second. Really, first step before you do that is you got to figure out what your glass types are. So it would probably help you out a lot if you, before you even started assigning glass types, went to your general note sheet and double checked and filled out your glass types. Like, here we got a mistake. This should just be glass type 1. So you know what to name your glass types and what glass types you have before you even start. So what we're going to need, it looks like, is to make global parameters for these 5 glass types. So go to your general note sheet, revise 1T at the top so it says 1, and we're going to have glass type 1, glass type 1T, glass type 1H, glass type 2, and glass type 2T. Then we're going to go to manage global parameters, and click this little page for new global parameter. It's going to open a dialog box. So I'm going to type in just 1. If you want to be fancy, you could do glass or whatever you want. It doesn't really matter because this is just for you. I'll say vision glass. And then you need to, this is very important, under type of parameter, drop it down and set it to material. And then click OK. And then once that parameter is created, then we can go to this value place where it says by category. And we're going to click over to the right. And it's going to open up our materials browser. So now I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom where we've already got a couple of presets that come in with our template. So I'm going to set WW Vision 1. OK. Actually, I'm going to click Edit, and I'm going to rename this WW Vision since that's our standard. So WW Vision. OK. So I've got my first glass type made, and I'm going to walk through the process for the rest of them if you guys didn't catch all that. So click this paper down here to open up this dialog box, and then I will do 1T, WW Vision tempered, drop down the parameter to be material, click OK, then go to value, click to the far right of the box, and then I will scroll to where I can select WW Vision tempered, 1T, OK, and then I will make a new global parameter 1H, which will be WW Vision heat strengthened. Drop this down to material, click OK, select the value. Here, it looks like we don't have a preset for that, so I can just select one of the other glass types that we have, and then there's this little circle with a plus. So if I drop that down, I can select duplicate selected materials. So I'm just making a copy of WW Vision tempered, but I'm going to rename it WW Vision heat strengthened, and that's set. And then I need to, oops. Okay. I just clicked the wrong button. Sorry guys, I gotta repeat that. So you can see it again. I'm selecting WW Vision tempered, duplicate selected material, WW Vision heat strengthened. H, then click OK. So that's set, and then I'm going to click a new for 2 WW Vision spandrel. Oh, just WW spandrel. This is a spandrel, and then make this a material. Click OK.
And just, do you mind if we go to like assigning them, because we only got a couple minutes left, and then we can do the
yeah
stuff.
So I'm setting this to the spandrel glass type, which if you have spandrel, you should find the preset because that has a pattern that it will apply to the glass. So, okay. And now let's go back to our elevation. And then now I'm just gonna select my elevation and then go down to these sunglasses and click them and then click isolate element just to remove everything else so it's easier to work with. And then I'll just tell you guys that all the bottom and the top lights are spandrel, and then the middle will be heat strengthened. So actually shortcut, you can just drag a box to select all the lights and then go to filter, which is under modify filter, filter it down to just curtain panel. So now you just have your curtain panel selected, and then hit shift, which is deselect, to select the middle panels. Now I've just got my top and bottom panel selected. And then I, over here by glazing material, I'm going to click this little gray box, and that's going to let me assign one of my global parameters. So I'm going to assign this to WW spandrel parameter. So that's set. And then I'm going to do the same thing, just drag a box, and this time select all these middle lights. And I still have to do shift and drag to drag over the top, because the units are actually curtain panels too, which is kind of confusing. So if you want to use that shortcut, it's kind of like a two-step process. So make sure only the lights that you want to change are selected and nothing else is blue. So then again, I'm going to go to glazing material, this gray box, and then select 1H, and that's set my glass type. So now, really quickly, we're going to make a elevation view of this using one of Alan's tools. So I'm going to delete all these like temporary live cuts that I had just to clean things up a little bit. Alan has a really cool tool. If you go to WW Modeling Sheet Maker, okay, we're going to select our wall, and make sure you're viewing this in the level 2 floor plan, and that you got to it like you're just on the view, not that you've clicked into it from the sheet. So you click your wall, and it's going to pop up this dialog box, and here we can set a elevation number, do 02, and then the great thing about this is it won't work unless you put in your initials, which people forget to do all the time. So you have to put in your initials. You can set your scale, and I'm going to hit place on existing sheet because I've already got one elevation on sheet 201, so then I'll drop down 201. And then I am going to select this option over here that will dimension this curtain wall and the floor plans that I check. So I'm checking level 2 and level 3. And so once I've got my options set, I'm going to click create view. I'll load. It just made the view. I don't have any other elevations, so then I'm going to click finish. Okay, so now if I come to sheet 201, well, I think I might have bugged out. Oh, weird. It's just a weird bug. So hopefully that's not happening for you guys. Okay, so now I've got my curtain wall on a sheet, and I can move it around to, you know, where I think is a good spot. I mean, really, this is only half my curtain wall, but we're going to ignore that for now because we're out of time. So once I've got my curtain wall on a sheet, actually it looks like I've got the wrong level type selected. So I'm going to select my levels and then over on properties, drop this down to say 1/4 inch head. And then I'm going to select this level and I'm going to click my box over here and uncheck the box over here because that is typically, we show our levels to the left of the elevation, not to the right. Okay. And I can kind of tell already that when I put my dimensions in, they're going to be overlapping these levels. So I want to drag them away from the curtain wall a little bit. There's two ways to do that. One is if I click this little crop symbol down here, it turns on this crop box and I can drag that over and that's going to also push out the levels. This is pretty much what I want to do for this elevation because I want to make sure I show these grid lines. You always want to make sure that you're adjusting your crop like to show any grid lines you need to dimension to, floor levels you need to dimension to, whatever is important. So I've got this set and now I'm going to use the tool Curtain Wall DT, which is under WW Modeling, Curtain Wall DT, and it's going to pop up another dialog box that is just reading whatever elevations are in the view. So this is O2 elevation. I selected it, it's blue, it's the right one. I click OK. And there's a bunch of options. You're safe to just use the default 99% of the time. So we're just going to use default. And now we've got our dimensions. So at this point, you just want to clean things up a little bit. You know, drag these grid lines up. It looks like we're missing some dimensions describing the oh, you might actually be hidden. Let's turn on our crop view and nope, they just weren't there. Okay. So add any missing dimensions, whatever you need to do. So once we have our dimensions, then we're going to add in our detail bubbles. So here, you got to make sure that, so I got this view on the sheet. If I go to my sheet and click into the view, I can edit the view. Unfortunately, there's a bug with the Place Ref tool where it won't work if you're viewing your elevation from the sheet. So you have to access it just from the view. So a shortcut, if you expand this plus button underneath the sheet, it's going to show you the whatever views are on that sheet. So I'm going to expand it and then click O2 elevation, and it's just going to bring me just to the view of this elevation. So once I'm there, I will click this Place Ref tool, which brings up another dialog box, the same as we've seen for a lot of other tools. So I select my elevation. And then what this is doing is it's reading all the details that are currently in the project. And once it loads them all, it's gonna give me the option to place details if it's finding that the, so here it's ready. So it's reading the profile in my model, and it's looking for a detail with those matching profiles in them. And so then it's going to gives me just a preview image of the options. So I get to choose, you know, based on my knowledge of the project, what detail goes where. And then once I select the correct detail, I will choose place, and it's going to put the detail there. So place, place, place. So here, for some reason, it's not finding the correct detail, which is kind of weird because we do have that detail in the project. So this would just be a clue that maybe there's some issue with one of the families. So what you can do if you have this situation is you click this button called Add Placeholder. It's supposed to be red. There's a bug in right now where it's not coming in red, but that should be fixed soon. So you click Add Placeholder, and it's going to put an empty detail bubble there to prompt you to go and figure out what's wrong. Place the jam. Okay, so now we've got almost all our details. So the thing with the place ref tool is it doesn't know about, like, it can't really figure out if you need to place anchor details. So if we know we need to place anchor details, then what we need to do is come back and choose this place one ref command, and then you just select your mullion that you are going to place the detail on, and it's going to start up that dialog box again. And so this is finding all our details with this profile. So it looks like we just don't have an anchor detail right now, which obviously we're going to need to create. So what you're going to do is select this anchor option. And the reason for that is because it sets the detail in the right spot on the elevation. And then add placeholders. Now I've got a lollipop here at the anchor to remind me to create that detail. And you would repeat that for the verticals and for the other jam. So then we need to, yeah, so at this point you review, figure out your missing details, fix everything up, and then we've got to place the wind load and dead load symbols, and there's a tool for that. Under WW modeling, wind load, dead load, select it, same dialog box, click your elevation, click OK. And so this is setting the symbols based on your profiles. So remember with Damien, we were looking at the blue filter, like it's reading if you have any profiles that have the DL or wind load nomenclature and figuring out your symbols based on that. So you're going to click place, and then you can, once you do that, then you click where you want your symbols to go. So I'm going to click right here, and now my symbols popped in. So it read that I had a wind load sill, so it knew how to place those. So yeah, I think Katan is noting that the tool misplacing the horizontal up here, but that's why we just need to make sure we review everything after we use it. So now we're going to place our unit X's in our glass tags. So we have a tool for that under WW modeling called tags and X. So you start it, and then it basically, you're going to hover over your unit, and you can use the tab command if you need to toggle between two different elements if it's trying to snap to the wrong unit. So hover over your leftmost unit and then click. And you can click multiple units if you need to. For this elevation, we don't have to, so I'm just clicking the leftmost one, and then I'm going to click Finish. And now it's loaded in my tags and X. And so you can see that it can't really tell if you've got stuff in the way, so sometimes you've got to manually go back and move your detail bubbles around or move your glass tags around. So that said, you'll notice that 2 came in for the spandrel, but not for this vision glass. That's because I didn't put in the value when we made this material. So what you can do is just click on your little glass bubble and I'm going to type in 1H. And now that's going to update that material. So anytime I tag something with that 1H material, it's going to know it's 1H. Okay. Now, we need to make sure we have set the data for this elevation. So this is elevation 2. And now if I click elevation 2 and I come to my properties browser and scroll down to the bottom, there's this data option. And so I need to make sure I write in 02 so that everything works in takeoff. And I don't need to indicate that it's a different project because it's not a different project. So, and that's how you model an elevation. And I was supposed to show checking in the takeoff browser, but I don't know if we have enough time.
We'll probably use that. I'll see that for tomorrow when
Okay.
the exercise. All right. Any questions? I know there's lots of questions going back and forth. I know people were running into some bugs, but any questions overall? Any you guys saw that you liked? Real quick.
What would you enter into the different project field? Is that like different buildings or?
Yes, that's what it's for. So like if you had a campus or something and you copied the first building to make the second building, but the first building was still in your model, you can mark it off as different project, yes, and then the takeoff program won't deal with it. We'll just ignore it.
All right.
So you pretty much try to follow those CW modeling steps, right?
Oh,
the PDF you have, right?
Yeah, I think I mixed it up a little bit because I just, but basically that, yeah, all the steps. I mean, there's a lot of steps in the middle that doesn't really matter what order you go in, just as long as you hit them all before you finish. So you notice, yeah, there are probably some steps that I did a little bit out of order, but I think I got all the steps except for the last one, which is to check the model and the takeoff browser.
Yeah,
And
I think Katan mentioned too that after you finished making this elevation, you could kind of save the whole thing as a system. But if you have the same setup for other places on the building, you don't have to manually enter each of the mullions again, right?
yeah, you can save a system. The thing is that with the wireframe models, saving the system doesn't work quite as well as if you're going from like the sales model or an architect's model.
Mm-hmm.
But you can always save the system in the elevation generator and it will remember some things.
Okay.
I have a question for Amy, I guess. Do you think the Dynamo routine that we worked on works for this, or is that specifically for your units?
I have no familiarity with the Dynamo routine, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's why I'm seeing if Amy knows.
Oh, you're asking Amy.
Yeah, sorry.
I said you're asking for it.
Oh, no, that's okay. Yeah, no, yeah, those are specific to that other modeling structure.
Okay.
But it doesn't mean you can't look at other ways, to do something similar.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Jess.
Great job, Jessica.
Thank you, Jess.
All right, I'm gonna.
Everyone, and if you guys want to challenge yourself,
can I have one
try and model the rest of the current wall.
Can I have one quick a point here?
Yeah.
Suppose in this case we had a two curtain wall, one above other, and if both are in the one elevation, we have to give. If we have two separate a wall on a one elevation, we have to give same number. Don't forget.
Oh yeah. Yep. That's a really good point. So when you get to the point, I mean, actually we've kind of done this wrong on purpose because we were running out of time, but really you would have to manually adjust all these dimensions. And then once you've exported this top piece, you'd have to make sure that elevation data is 02 and matches exactly the other elevation it belongs to.
All right, just to replicate the feeling of actually being in the same room, I'm gonna unmute everyone and everyone give Jessica some applause.
Good job, Jessica. All right. Thanks,
Jessica.
Jessica.
Good job.
Thank you, Jessica.
Awesome job.
Encore.
Jessica. Yeah, encore. Yeah. So
Can you do that again?
Okay, you're all muted again.
all right. So for tomorrow, we're actually going to be kind of going a little more depth as we're going into the groups. So Jessica did a great job doing an overview. If you guys follow along, perfect. You guys are ahead of the game for tomorrow. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a short break. Since we're running out of time, it's going to be a couple minutes. Like let's do like 3 minutes. 11:16. Be back, and then Pedro's going to do an overview real quick on the takeoff part of this next process. Sound good? 11:16. 3 minutes.